The haunting unsolved case of Frauke Liebs, Part 1. It began with a phone call that should have been impossible. In June 20th, 2006, a young woman named Frauke Liebs vanished after watching a World Cup match with friends in Paderborn, Germany. She sent a text message that night saying she'd be home later, but she never came home. At first, everyone thought she'd crashed somewhere, or maybe stayed over with friends. But then came the first call. Her roommate, Chris, answered. Frauke's voice sounded calm. Too calm. She said she was fine, said she'd be home tomorrow. But tomorrow came, and there was no Frauke. For the next 6 days, Frauke kept calling, each time from a different location. Each time sounding a little more distant, a little more mechanical. The calls came at night, always late, always short. She kept repeating the same things. I'm fine, don't worry, I'll come home soon. But the tone didn't match the words. There was something off. In one call, Chris asked if she was being held. She said no, then paused, and added, yes. That was the last time anyone heard her voice alive. Police traced her phone signals to random areas around Paderborn. Bus stops, industrial roads, forest edges. Each time the phone was there one moment, gone the next, as if someone was moving it deliberately. Investigators thought she might have been forced to make those calls. But here's where things got truly strange. Each signal came from within a 20-mile radius of her home. She was never far away. And yet, no one ever saw her. Then, months later, October 4th, 2006, a hunter discovered human remains in a forest near Lichtenau. It was Frauke. Her body showed no clear cause of death. Her phone, clothes, and purse were gone. Just silence. The calls, the calm voice, the eerie consistency, it all ended with a body and no explanation. The investigation turned obsessive. Police questioned hundreds of people. The bar where she watched the game, her ex-boyfriend, her co-workers, nothing. But the phone records revealed something even darker. Each time she called, her signal came from places that formed a strange pattern, a ring around Paderborn, like someone was circling the city. And when investigators drew the path on a map, the final dot, the last signal, was just 3 miles from where her body was found. It didn't make sense. If her killer wanted to hide her, why keep her nearby? Why make her call? Why drag it out for a week? Then a new theory emerged, that whoever did this wanted control. Not just over her, over how the story unfolded. They wanted her alive long enough to create confusion. Long enough to make her sound like she'd simply run away. Long enough for the police to look the wrong way. But something about Frauke's last words haunted everyone. She said she'd be home soon. She said she was fine. And in her final message, recorded just days before she was found, she whispered one more sentence. Chris, thank you for everything. Those were her last words. But there was no emotion in them, just resignation. The case remains unsolved to this day. No suspect ever charged, no confession, no closure. But here's what investigators later discovered the night before her last call, a short burst signal, pinging from an abandoned field. The field had no reception, no towers nearby, no reason for a signal to appear, and yet it did. At 12:49 a.m., the exact same time every one of her earlier messages had come through. The coordinates led to a narrow dirt road. When police got there, they found nothing, except an old phone battery buried beneath the soil. It didn't belong to Frauke. 19 years later, people still talk about those 7 nights, the calls that came out of nowhere, the calm voice that didn't sound afraid, just done. Some say she was trying to send a coded message. Others believe she was already gone when those calls were made. But the most disturbing theory is this. Whoever made her call was there the whole time, listening, directing, smiling behind the phone. And in 2025, a new clue appeared that turned everything upside down. A sealed envelope arrived at the Paderborn police station. No name, no return address. Inside was a single phone, the same model Frauke used in 2006. It powered on. One unread message flashed on the screen. It read, 12:49 a.m., missed call, from Frauke. The old Siemens phone found at the station wasn't supposed to exist. Frauke's phone had been missing since 2006, and yet this one was identical. Same scratches, same faded keypad, same model, but the serial number matched. It was hers. When investigators powered it on, it showed one missed call, 12:49 a.m., the exact time of every message Frauke ever sent. And then, without a SIM card, without a signal, one more notification appeared. She was never alone. Forensics said the device was genuine, no tampering, no modern modifications. But inside the battery cover, two letters were scratched: M plus F. At first, they thought it meant M, the bartender, and Frauke, a personal mark. But in the original case file, there was another name: FM, the initials of a police IT technician who had worked on the investigation in 2006, the same man who handled Frauke's phone data. He had left Germany a year later, moved to Norway, started a small security company, and disappeared from public records. Detectives tracked him down in Bergen. When they questioned him, his hands shook. He said it wasn't what they thought. He said Frauke wasn't supposed to die. They pressed him. Who was with her? He refused to answer. Then he said something that chilled the room. It wasn't just me and M. There was a third. No one had ever mentioned a third suspect. He refused to give a name, said only one thing. She trusted him, completely. The next morning, before he could be re-interviewed, FM was found dead in his apartment, officially ruled a suicide. But the note he left behind said something strange. Look at the recordings, not the calls, the silences. The case reopened instantly. Investigators went back through Frauke's call recordings, this time analyzing the background noise, not her words. And in the spaces between her sentences, they found something. A faint echo, a broadcast, the sound of a World Cup match on TV. Germany versus Ecuador, June 20th, 2006, the night she disappeared. It meant those calls were not live. They had been pre-recorded. Frauke's voice replayed after she was gone. That discovery destroyed every previous theory. Someone had faked those calls to mislead police. Someone who knew how to manipulate audio, signals, and timing. Someone like FM. But FM wasn't the only one with access to the recordings. One journalist had been given copies for analysis, a local crime reporter named Jonas Richter. Richter had covered the case obsessively. He wrote articles filled with details only investigators knew. When police questioned him back then, he had a perfect alibi. He was reporting from Cologne the night Frauke vanished. But when they searched his archived notes, they found an old dictaphone, and on one of the tapes was a woman's voice. Frauke's. She said, calm and soft, "Chris, don't worry, I'm fine." But the timestamp on the tape was one day after her final call. The voice was real. The recording was not from a phone line. It was recorded in person, meaning Frauke was still alive after her supposed final call. There were now two timelines, the public one with the fake calls, and the hidden one where she was kept alive and recorded. Police raided Richter's old apartment. Inside a locked cabinet, they found 7 cassette tapes labeled only with an F and numbered 1 through 7. They played the first one, a faint click. Then Frauke's voice. "Why are you doing this?" A man's voice, low and distant. "You said you'd help." Frauke again. "Please, they'll think I'm fine." Static. End of tape. The second tape began the same way, more static, more pleading. But there was another voice this time. Not Richter's. Not the bartender's. Someone whispering in the background. Male. Calm. Keep recording. Forensics matched Richter's voice to some sections of the tapes, but the others didn't match anyone known. They believed there were at least 3 men involved. FM had hinted at that. Now it was confirmed. Police brought Richter in. He didn't resist, didn't deny it. He just sat down and said, "The story's almost finished." In his office, investigators found a camera set up to film him. Lights on. Laptop open. Recording software running. On his desk was a handwritten note. The story never ends if someone keeps listening. Beside it lay another phone. Different model, same carved letters inside the cover. M plus F. Richter was arrested on suspicion of involvement. He refused to speak, refused to identify anyone else. As police escorted him away, he turned to the nearest officer and said calmly, "You're about to get another call." That night, October 3rd, 2025, at 12:49 a.m., the emergency line at Paderborn police rang once. The caller ID said unknown. The dispatcher answered. Silence. Then a faint voice. Female. "Chris, I'm home." The line cut. The call was traced to the forest near Litnau, the same spot where Frauke's remains were found 19 years earlier. Units were dispatched. They found no one. Just the faint hum of a disconnected signal. A trace that lasted only seconds, then vanished completely. The following morning, investigators received another anonymous delivery. A small USB drive. It contained an audio file titled Frauke 7.mp3. They pressed play. Static filled the room, then a whisper. "It's not over yet." The timestamp on the file, 12:49 a.m., the same time, always the same time. The case had come full circle. The voice that shouldn't exist was speaking again. The calls that ended in 2006 were replaying themselves 19 years later. The killer, or someone pretending to be them, had revived the pattern. Same dates, same times, same words. Police now feared that whoever was behind this wasn't just repeating history. They were finishing it. And then, as investigators prepared for what they believed would be the final message, another phone lit up on the evidence table. It wasn't connected to any network. It wasn't even plugged in. The screen flashed once. 12:49 a.m. message received, and beneath it, one final text. She's still calling. The night after the final message appeared, the police building went dark for 7 full seconds. No power failure, no alarm, just complete silence. When the lights came back, every phone in the evidence room glowed at once. Dozens of screens lit up with a single word: home. The timestamp beneath it read 12:49 a.m. Again. By dawn, the town of Paderborn was awake and afraid. People said the case was haunting the network. Phones ringing in the middle of the night. Voicemails filled with static. The same pattern repeating 19 years later. But to investigators, it wasn't paranormal. It was controlled. Engineered. Someone out there was still feeding Frauke's voice into the world and using technology that didn't exist in 2006. Cybercrime analysts tore through the Frauke7.mp3 file. They found layers of audio no one had noticed. One carried her voice, one carried silence, and buried deep beneath both, a faint rhythmic pulse. At first, they thought it was a heartbeat, but when decoded, the frequency spelled coordinates: 51.712N, 8.739E. A decommissioned military bunker outside Paderborn. Teams went in at sunrise. The bunker smelled of dust and metal, walls lined with obsolete radios, reel-to-reel recorders, tangled cables, all powered off, except one. A single desk light glowed over a laptop, its screen looping a short audio file. Frauke's final call playing endlessly. At the end, her voice repeated a new phrase not present in any known recording. You're listening now. The laptop had no hard drive, no internet connection. The sound wasn't being played from storage. It was being streamed live. The signal's origin was less than 2 miles away, a farmhouse at the edge of the woods. When they entered, it looked abandoned, except for the basement. Down there, the walls were covered in printouts, transcripts of every Frauke call, screenshots of every online theory, pinned maps, red string. And in the center of the room, a single sheet of paper written in red marker. You are all the voice. A microphone sat in the corner, plugged into an old transmitter still humming with power. On the desk beside it, notebooks filled with waveforms, each line marked with a date from June 2006 to October 2025. Every entry ended the same way: 49. At the bottom of the last page, one phrase repeated over and over: she speaks when we listen. That night, a podcaster uploaded a new episode about the case. The file name, Frauke Final. No intro music, no commentary, just a blank, black screen for 4 minutes, until the very end, when a faint voice whispered from the static, "Chris, turn it off." The feed cut to white. When the audio was analyzed, the waveform revealed coded Morse signals that translated to a single message. You made her a story. Now she's yours. The video's metadata said it was created on June 20th, 2006, 19 years before the upload. The story spread like wildfire. People everywhere began hearing strange tones through their phones at 12:49 a.m., missed calls from blank numbers, voicemails with breathing. And for those who played the old Frauke calls again, new sounds emerged: whispers, pauses that spoke, voices saying their own names. It wasn't just happening to the police anymore. The signal had escaped. Investigators tracked the source to a hidden network called the Liebs Archive. Thousands of mirrored police files, millions of audio fragments, all looping in real time. Inside the main server room, there was a display case. Behind the glass, a phone, the same model as Frauke's, still on, still glowing. Its screen showed one message: missed call. When the forensic team opened the file, it contained a moving GPS tag, live transmission. It was traveling north, slowly. They followed it for 2 hours until it stopped at the edge of the Lichtenau forest, the same place her remains were found. There was no one there, just wind and the rustle of trees. Then every police radio in the area flickered to life with a voice. Soft, familiar. I told you. I'm fine. The signal cut, then returned, stronger, repeating one word: listen. At headquarters, the forensic audio team converted the signal into visual data. The waveform formed letters. A date, October 4th, 2025, tomorrow. That was the day the final file arrived. A digital package uploaded to police servers automatically at midnight. It contained a single folder labeled Fraught Return. Inside were hundreds of recordings, each time stamped at 12:49 a.m., each file merging her old voice with new background sounds, footsteps, typing, breathing. Someone had rebuilt her calls using modern audio. A synthetic resurrection. And whoever did it wasn't just recreating her words, they were expanding them. Her voice now said things she'd never said before. Stop calling. Stop listening. Stop telling it. When the final file finished playing, every speaker in the analysis lab emitted the same low hum. The technicians froze. The hum wasn't random. It carried binary code hidden inside its tone. When decoded, it revealed a full phrase. I am home. And then, silence. The computers powered off on their own. The lights dimmed. Every clock in the room stopped at exactly 12:49. That morning, the entire Liebs Archive vanished from the internet. Every mirror link, every re-upload, every copy of the calls, deleted simultaneously. The servers were wiped clean, leaving only one directory title behind. Recovered Frauke Master Score Final.wave. The same name found months earlier in the Castle leak. When the authorities opened it, they expected another voice recording. But it wasn't audio. It was a composition, layers of human frequencies blended with mechanical rhythm, a symphony of every sound ever recorded in the case. In the middle of it, beneath static and distortion, Frauke's voice emerged for the last time. Chris, it's late. Pause. You've been waiting for the end, but the end never stopped. Within hours of that file being played, the mysterious phone calls around the world stopped. No more midnight signals, no more whispers. The story fell silent. The investigation was closed one final time. The official statement read, no new physical evidence, likely digital fabrication. But one detective speaking off record said something that no one could explain. The final WAV file contained data written after its creation, new layers added in 2030, 2032, 2035, years that hadn't happened yet. The audio was still growing, still evolving, still talking back. That night I received a package, no return address, inside a small USB microphone, a note taped to the side. You wanted the truth. Tell it. When I plugged it in, the mic activated itself. No sound in the room, no voice, just the hum, and then faintly, a whisper through the static. I told you, I'm fine. The file saved automatically to my computer. Its name appeared before I could even touch the keyboard. Experts later said it was a programmed playback, an illusion, a pre-recorded message tied to the mic. But when they opened it for inspection, they found a timestamp embedded in the waveform. AM, the same moment as every call, every file, every echo. That's when I finally understood. The case had never been about a killer. It had always been about a signal, a voice repeating through time, feeding on those who refused to let it fade. Frauke's story wasn't haunting us. We were haunting it, keeping it alive with every retelling, every replay, every click, every watch. Maybe that was the real meaning behind the words she'd left behind. She was never alone, because she isn't. She's right here, still playing, still calling. Every June 20th at 12:49 a.m., a ghost call hits the Paderborn network. No number, no trace, no origin, just a single word on the screen. Home. It lasts 3 seconds, then vanishes, and for a moment the air feels lighter, like someone, somewhere, finally stopped listening.